Call the regular meeting for the month of April to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. Appreciate all y'all being here. We don't get many days like this in April, and you're choosing to be here with us, so thank you. As y'all know, we start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Vic thought she would get out of duty just by missing last month, close to her birthday. That is not the case. Yes, ma'am. And as we do, we have recognition next, and we've got some outstanding students to recognize tonight.
Yes, Mr. Russick and members of the board, we do. We have some outstanding students from our debate team at Midway High School. And so I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Allison Smith, who is going to introduce our students to you. Ms. Smith, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. K. The Midway High School Cross-Examination Policy Debate Team of David Park and Neon Zing earned bronze medals at the virtual 6A State UIL Cross-Examination Debate Tournament in March. Their state performance qualified them to compete at nationals this coming June. David also received the 6A Bronze Gavel Award at state in recognition of being one of the top 3 speakers, and he earned top speaker at district. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Miss Jones too. This is Miss Susan Jones, their sponsor. This is for David. The Bronze Gavel Award we just got in, so we're going to go ahead and present that to David right here tonight. And then also we just got our plaque for the state semifinalist in cross debate. So we wanted to give those to everybody. And then are we doing the medals too, Miss Jones? I believe, yes. All the medals go to these 3 people up here as well. He's coming up. Yes. And so while they're draping medals, sorry to yell, Corbett Armstrong, come on in, Corbett, and David Park became the first students in Midway's history to qualify for the state UIL competition and congressional debate since it became an official UIL event in 2014. The pair advanced from regionals to compete at the virtual state tournament in February. Midway High School debate is coached by Miss Susan Jones. And we would love to congratulate these students on their achievement, and good luck to both David and Neon at nationals. And Corbett, if you'll come over on this side next to your partner in crime over here, that'd be great.
Congratulations to those students again. Outstanding results and work. Information items. Anybody have any questions on any of the information items? Want to take any of those up? Or are we ready to move to presentation? Pam.
I have a couple of questions for the GT program. Are we going to have a parent representative on that task force, do you think? Yes. Yes, okay, great. Any other parental concerns we've had about what we're shifting to, or will that unfold as you get together and talk about the future plans?
No, not so far. People seem to be happy that we're going back to what the plan was pre-COVID as much as we can. We are going to be working through, kind of working out 5th grade at Woodgate. There's still a few challenges for us. More than likely, we have 2 possible plans for the 5th graders at Woodgate. One is, and we're going to talk this over with principals and just get to kind of vet through the possibility. We're still working through those details, but everybody else is going to go back to the GT plan that we had in place.
And was that working well and is there any discussion about that?
It was. We went to, for a period of time before that, we went to GT on the elementary campuses for the elementary, and there were some concerns there. So we then went back to a traditional schoolhouse program where they are off campus and all day working with GT students from other, with all of the GT team out at River Valley. So since we still have the room, that's what we're going back to. That seems to be the popular choice.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Pam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Any questions from anybody else? Did you just get a blank screen, Andy?
I did, and that says an error.
Yeah, mine just did the same thing.
I know. Just close it in a second. Click it, and then just reopen it.
That's what I thought. Ah, very good, thank you. Yeah, we're good.
No.
Jesse, need extra help.
All right.
I'm good.
Just his mere presence.
All the technology.
He's the computer whisperer.
He sends off Wi-Fi signals.
That's right. It's his superpower.
Okay, we good to go now? Everybody ready? Presentation discussion items in. First one up is our exterior design for Woodgate Intermediate, the renovation project. Steve?
This mic is fine.
Right. That's what we needed here is a smoke machine.
I'm afraid to get close to it. Sorry about that.
Everyone's had a dose of
All right.
radiation, I think.
Oh, I'm getting a big echo. Oh, okay, try. Oh, test. Ready? Test. Okay.
You're doing that on purpose, aren't you?
I'm not trying.
I would stand away from it.
Don't get too close. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kazanis, always a pleasure to be here tonight. We want to walk through, we presented a couple of times on Woodgate. We presented the phase 1 scope on the interior work, and then we came back last month and presented phase 2 of the interior renovation scope. We were not ready at that time to present the exterior. We were still working with Dr. Kazanis and staff to come up with a recommended plan on what to do there. We have been working on that, and this evening, that's what we're going to kind of walk through quickly and show that to you. The second page in your book, as you're walking through the book, are just some reference elevations. That's the front elevations of the existing building. looking at the primary entrance and kind of the existing exterior vernacular that's on the building currently. Then there's just some close-up pictures of that existing entry. Stay away. Back up. In the tie that entrance into the drop-off and pickup area in the front, in that front new loop drive that we will be creating in that area. So this, as we started looking at how we could do that, and also being able to take the existing structure, try to dress it up down the length of much as we could along that academic wing on the west wing, and then still be able to break it up. You see what we're proposing to do is tear off the existing canopy structure off the front of the building. And then we would then add in a new entry canopy structure that isn't quite so heavy, and something a little, creating a little lighter feel to it with the, and introducing the slope metal roofing, and a little lighter structural framing member with the canopy structure that we would run across the front. You see there's two slopes in the canopy structure as it goes down to try to break up the length of that canopy. It is a pretty long canopy in the front entry there. And then it also ties into the existing locations with where the condensing units for the split DX units are located. So then we will create screens with the structure, and then create screens in front of those units to try to hide those units as much as possible. We will also then, in between that, that canopy structure is pulled off the face of the building. So it is freestanding, so it still allows some light to come through and make sure we get lighting into those existing windows. And it also allows us to put some landscaping back along the building and try to dress up and beautify, in essence, kind of that front entry along that parent loop drive. And then the way the new loop drive, as you see in this plan right here, as the new loop drive comes in, there are some existing units that are down on the other end, and then also the units that are on the east wing that are in the front. We will landscape those and work to make sure that we're trying to reduce the visual of those existing condensing units as much as possible. Now, where am I going? Okay, now it's not working. Now, did I? No, it's on. I'm struggling this evening. So what we'll walk through on the next few slides are just some different images. This is an image at street level as you're standing out on Chapel Road, what you would be seeing as you're looking off. So you see that light sloped canopy structure that will replace the existing entry structure. It's a lot more open, a lot more airy. Still does and functions the same as the existing structure. It'll protect the students as they're coming in and the public as they're coming in, but it definitely gives it a new appearance. Then also what you're seeing on the what is currently the library space, that curved entry, just off to the left of the entry, and as you're coming into the entry, that space, we're looking at recoating that brick that's on there with it's a hydraulic limestone. We've used this on some recent projects up in the Metroplex, where you get the stone look. It can go over the existing brick, and we don't have to take anything down. It's more economical than peeling off the existing brick and putting up stone or another product in its place. So that gives us the ability to give it a stone look, give it a new feel in that front entry for a more economical cost, so to speak. What we're seeing is it's expected to last anywhere from 30 to 40 years. It will last as long as the building. Now, it might have to have some repair. It can be damaged. It can be scratched. It might have to be repaired down the road, but everything that we've seen, most of the installations are somewhere in the 20 to 30 years right now, some of the older ones. It has become more popular, and the product has improved over time. So I don't know if there's any installations in Waco. I mean, we have used it over the last 10 years on multiple school projects where we've tried to, in essence, reface an existing building. So, and it's held up very well. We've been very pleased with the product.
Is it a concrete? Is that what do you mean by hydraulic?
It's a cementitious product, yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, concrete, cement is in concrete. So yes, it is a concrete-based product. So yes. I mean, you see it a lot. A lot of restaurants and stuff are starting to utilize this more and more because it's an economical way to get a different stone look, a varied stone look, you know, in a space or on a building. So. Any other questions relative to that at this point? And we did price. We actually priced limestone and the hydraulic product. The hydraulic product on the building was in the $75,000 range, 79, and to peel it off and put on an actual stone product was in the $260,000 range. So, I mean, there is a significant cost to go with a true stone product, and it's more in the labor associated with it. So I believe. Does that sound fair?
Is there any other advantage to it besides an aesthetic? Or is it just to change the look of it?
It's a way to change the look of the building in an economical way to do it. So this is if you were standing in the parking lot looking at the front entry. So as you see, there's some, we're going to tie it into the existing amphitheater that's there. We're going to rework the amphitheater and make it and tie it into, and so it really becomes part of that new front entry, and tie those together. So that this is just some imagery of that work. You can see kind of the low sloped flat metal canopy and then the taller slope canopies over each one of where the screening mechanisms are over the condensing units.
What are those screens going to be made out of?
They're
You're going to push coats, do all kinds of.
They're going to be made out of perforated metal. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about a lot of various products, from some type of wood product to I'm trying to remember what all we discussed. I know we discussed wood and looking at various things, and ultimately the concern is if kids are out there and being that close to the walkway, is we need something that is going to be durable and easily maintained for the district. So this is an image looking down the canopy as you're walking up to the front entry. So this will be the new, in essence, parent drop-off at the front entry of the school. So we'll introduce, we'll bring in some of that stone. That was something that we had talked about. Dr. Kazanis, I believe, was the one who pulled back and requested that we bring the stone down into the structural elements of the canopy itself. This is a prefabricated canopy structure, so this is very similar to what you have on many of your campuses. It's in essence a deck type system, if you're familiar with that particular product, but it's the aluminum. It's a prefabricated aluminum structure, so they're very durable, easily maintained, minimal amount of work that needs to be ever done on them. They don't have to be painted. It's not a painted metal structure that you would be coming out to have to repaint.
Steve, right now, there's not a lot of kids in that area because of the current design. Are those AC units very noisy? I don't know if the screen's gonna block the noise and parents and kids coming and going.
I mean, yes, there is noise associated with them when the units run, and we looked at the perforated metal mainly because we have to maintain a certain amount of airflow around the units in order to make sure that they function properly, and we will have some distance. We have to maintain some distance around them for maintenance purposes. Yes, there's always going to be some noise associated with it. We're hopeful that, you know, the landscaping and stuff that we're going to use in between them, while it will not completely buffer it, it will help to deaden some of that sound.
Andy, it's really not bad. I mean, my kids, I've waited there for years to pick them up, you know, walking myself in and out of that building, and they're not.
Is this the spot that's used a lot currently?
Yeah, it's always been a drop-off, even when my kids were going there, so yeah, so it's,
Back when it was Midway Intermediate.
yeah, when it's intermediate school, and it was not bad. No. You could see.
We're going to do a marquee. We have not, normally what we would do that is we would do it coming in that front entry loop drive. So I don't know if I can get to the full site, but normally it would be right where that entrance is coming in off of Chapel Road. We would pick one side or the other. Most likely I would probably put it on the west side because that's where the traffic is coming in. Into the site. So that's probably, we haven't defined exactly where that site specific point wants to be. If it wants to be up at the corner where the red light is, that's another option, but we haven't defined that yet.
Do we still have the marquee there? Don't we have a marquee? We have a marquee there now. Is it still there? Yes. It's just a monochrome. It's a monochrome one, so. We're gonna
Yeah,
change it to
well-
digital. Okay, will we take that one down or just replace the digital into that spot?
We will, well, we can leave it at that spot if we want to. We will take that sign down and we'll put one up comparable to the one that we're putting at the new elementary, which is it's a full color LED reader
Oh, okay.
sign.
Okay.
And
Okay.
while we're still on this side of it, Steve, I know the existing lot there has lights in it that are shown in the actual photos. This doesn't depict any, but it'll have lighting in the parking lot too.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
We're still working through the exact layout of now that we have the design of the canopy, we're going to have to make some tweaks to the parking lot because we need to, the existing drive to what we want to do, we need to pull that drive out a little bit. And so we're going to have to rework some of that parking lot in order to make it all function
It's
properly.
gonna stay concrete, everything's concrete.
Everything will stay concrete, yes.
Will it have more parking spaces than it has now? I've been trying to look at this in my mind,
No,
because you're changing the entrance, okay.
no, it will not have more parking
Okay,
spaces.
but it'll have about the same,
Yes.
okay. Couldn't tell.
In order to add more parking, we can't, there's not enough room physically right there to be able to do it. We would have to go into the field next to it.
Right, in front
And
of the
take up
school.
that
Yeah.
field area. So we're not increasing the number.
No, I just couldn't quite tell how far the new entry was, you know, over into that field where the fence is. I couldn't quite tell how far over it was, so.
Now, these are the photos
Fall forward.
from the backside
Good.
of the building. You already have an existing very large canopy that runs along the cafeteria, and it's all glass along there. It's actually a very nice space for kids to gather up underneath. But with the change in the age group that we're going to be as we're looking at converting this to an elementary, there was some concern about just the travel distances and making sure that we're keeping the children protected like we're looking at with the new elementary, and that y'all have looked at it, some of your other elementary campuses, and added those canopy structures. So this is an image. What we'll do is, as it comes to the end of the building, we will just bring in it's a simple deck canopy, pre-manufactured aluminum canopy structure, very similar to what we're utilizing on the front of the building, that will just come out from that and go down to the sidewalk where the bus pickup, and then run along the bus pickup along that existing driveway that's there. So nothing real elaborate on the backside, but it's definitely adding to it to improve and make sure that those kids are protected as they're going out to the bus pickup.
And you're gonna take out that sidewalk that's there now where you're showing the brown, green grass? There's a sidewalk there right now, you're gonna take that out?
We're evaluating that as we go through. I know there's a ramp, and there's also steps. So there's a big wide area, and our canopy will not be that full width. So we did not have as we're drawing this, we did not have the survey on this yet. So we're waiting on that to actually be able to define exactly where it needs to go. So, it is a concept plan here of what it will look like, exactly where, most likely it'll go down the ramp. Those steps will stay that are off to the right, but those will not be covered.
Okay, but I think we still need some type of sidewalk from the side to the parking lot for like people that park over to the, if I'm looking at it right.
Oh, okay, so that's,
Yeah, because you're putting this at the end of the,
where's my images?
maybe it's on the next picture, I should look ahead. It's been days, a couple days since I looked at
No, that's
this
fine.
online. Is there a sidewalk there? You know,
I'm
the one that's
struggling
right
with-
here right now? No, it's gone.
Oh, it doesn't have, I'm sorry. Okay, if you look in your book, I thought it was in the presentation. Sorry. Oh. Oh, okay, there it is. So yes, we are going to add
Oh,
a canopy
okay.
along the parent, because we will have two parent pickups.
Okay, I thought you had to have
One
more than just the
One will
bus
be occurring in the
pickup.
front,
Okay,
and
that's
one
what I
will be
thought.
occurring in the
Okay.
back. So we'll actually have canopies for
Okay.
all three pickups. Bus pickup in the far back, then the parent loop in the back,
Okay.
along the
That grass area
curve,
won't be
that
as big as
existing
the bus
curb
stop.
drive. So
Okay.
it will come out from that existing canopy structure that's part of the building. It'll come out to the east once it hits the end of the drive. Then it'll follow the curve around along the parent pickup. And so, yes, we will have protection there for the kids during, so as they line up to get picked up by parents and stuff. So same thing that's occurring in the front.
Gotcha.
So are you saying, I understand, you don't know all the elevation changes yet to know if you have ADA ramp issues or any of that? yet? Or is that what y'all are waiting on?
Correct. Based upon the existing grades, I don't believe we have any. The only concern that I have really from an ADA perspective is back there at that bus loop. It's a pretty steep incline to get down to where the bus pickup is. Coming out of the existing canopy or the existing structure there and coming along the parent loop drive in both the front and the back, there's not enough slope to create any issues with accessibility from that standpoint. But we do need to look at the bus drop-off. Any questions relative to what we're proposing?
There were just a couple bonus pictures in here from walking inside the building that Ron from Huckabee included. Looking at the front entry, looking through the makerspace into the library. I think the board had seen it with the approval of the schematic design last time, but.
Correct. Well, that's right. I had forgotten about those. I was so focused on the, on the exterior. These, we've continued to develop. The last images, when we presented Phase 2 for the interior scope, you saw some kind of line diagrams of some images. These are just further developed. What you're looking at here, now, don't look at the graphics necessarily. None of this has been approved. This, once again, is just a concept. But this is standing in the entry, looking down the hallway to the east, along the library. The administration would be on your left-hand side. The library is on your right. And what you're looking through is that glass wall into the makerspace. So that will be that glass wall. Exactly what that graphic is, that has not been agreed upon or presented, any specific graphic. So we're just showing that some type of graphic will be on that glass at that point. And then this is standing the opposite corner as you're coming up from the cafeteria, headed into the east wing. As you're standing down, looking along the end of the library, what you're actually looking into is the library space. Those were those glass walls that we added in. There's some seating areas. We created this to help some of the concerns that came about with the library being open as much as it was. There were some concerns raised about some noise from the cafeteria space, so we added these glass walls in these seating areas in order to help buffer some of that sound as it's coming out of that space. Now, we do have that separation, as you remember. We are introducing doors between that close in the cafeteria, and so that will help also contain that noise into the cafeteria space area. But this is just something that was added in. This is all wall space that they can utilize. It's glass, and it's all writable surface. So it's all spaces that they can utilize. You see these are the ends where the classroom setups would be, to where they would, a class could come in and sit down at tables, movable areas, and actually have their class in the library space area. And what you're seeing then is if the wall turns as you go forward, that's the librarian's office and work area, and you would turn to the right and you would go down the southern hall of the eastern wing, or the eastern academic wing. So we're very excited. It's really starting to come together, and everything that we're seeing and the conversations that we've had, it's going to be a really nice project. So, any questions?
With the schedule?
Well, as far as schedule, you're approving Phase 1, Package 2 tonight, which is the completion of the summer work of Phase 1. Phase 2 and the rest of this work is scheduled to go out July 3rd, I believe, is when it will go to the contractor to bid. We would then bid it. This one, we will probably take the full month, 4 weeks, to want to bid this amount of scope of work. And then, so we would be back in August or September. I'm thinking we're coming back to the August board meeting for approval of the GMP for the remaining portion of the project. So, and then to start construction on that as soon as we can. With completion, the schedule is that all of this will be completed and ready for the opening of the new elementary in the fall of '22. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, you do.
Or let's say Perry has a lot of work to do.
Certainly want to introduce Perry Cloud and his wife. Thank you for coming this evening, but this is, if you don't know, Mr. and Mrs. Cloud, we appreciate you being here.
Other questions? Because it's on consent agenda. Okay, all right.
All right.
Very good.
Thank y'all.
Steve. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate the Clouds being here too. Thank y'all for coming. Moving on then, we have our monthly finance report. There is Mr. Brooks.
Before you get started, Ms. Milligan, would you take into control, or can we have control back? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, good evening.
What you asked?
Take a look at our March financial
Mine are
report.
blank.
A few things on page 8 of the report.
And open it up again. I don't know why it's doing that. Something's wrong with it.
On page 8 of the report, I just wanted to point out our elementary enrollment. So kind of a positive sign going into next year. We've added 80 students at the elementary level from January 1st to April 1st. Now, our overall enrollment has been pretty flat because we've lost about the same number of high school students in that time period. But losing high school students is normal because we have the early graduation. So, can I use it yet? Okay. There we go. So that light blue line, kind of the third one down, you see that steep slope increase there. So that's atypical. It's not normal. Usually we may have kind of flat or a little increase, but hopefully that kind of bodes well for going into next year as we are forecasting our average daily attendance to formulate the budget for next year. Our taxes on page 11. So I kind of kept y'all to date the last few months. In January, we were kind of behind. In February, we caught up. March, we're actually now collected over 100% of our budgeted tax collections for the year. So we're in good shape there. And that also helps to explain on our general fund projection for the year, forecasting revenues over expenditures in the amount of $1.1 million for the fiscal year 2021. Also, the last 5 pages of the report, pages 14 to 18, I believe Dr. Kazanis already forwarded you this, but the refinancing results. The refinancing results of our 2008 A bond series. The district entered the market on April 7th. We locked in an interest rate of 0.88%. That's the lowest rate I think I've ever seen on a bond. I don't know. It was very fortunate. Yeah, really. So that results in interest cost savings of $1.7 million over the remaining 7 years of the bond, outstanding bond. And finally, 2 budget amendments, 21-7 and 21-8. So 21-7 is to provide funds for 3 micro bird buses, and those will be funded from the committed fund balance for transportation. And 21-8 is for summer projects, and those funds will come from projected savings in our utility accounts for the year. A couple of the larger items there, carpet replacement at Hewitt Elementary and the high school.
For projects, that's a very low number, so that was a good job of keeping the maintenance going.
So what we did on that is we just kind of picked up the summer projects that we had left over from last summer that we didn't get to, so we didn't really do a new list.
Oh.
Except for a couple of emergency items.
Okay. Gotcha. That's good.
Questions from any of the board members on the financial report?
No, and I like the new buses. Was that in here? Was that part of the budget amendment for the buses?
Yes, yes.
Those sound good. I didn't realize we were using the Suburbans or the small vans to get little kids, so I think that's a much safer way to go. So that's good. I'm glad we're doing that.
And another big advantage to those buses is you don't have to have a CDL license to drive.
Oh, because they're not so big. Okay. Good. Part-time job right here.
Way to innovate, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if nothing else on the finance report, then summer projects update.
And summer projects, just like I mentioned, there's a list there. You can see the projects that we're going to try to take on this summer. A busy summer, of course, too, with all of our bond projects going on as well. But a lot of carpet replacement. The total is $138,000, which is pretty comparable to It's what we generally do in the summer.
Just, of course, you see a big portion of the summer is at Hewitt Elementary, but just, of course, Hewitt Elementary. And it's another reflection of our ongoing maintenance, but also because of the aging of our buildings, and that's why you see some bathrooms and carpets and things like that really needing to have some attention there. But it's ongoing maintenance, but that is one of our oldest campuses.
Now, I was thinking about the facade you're gonna put on the current Woodgate Intermediate School. Could be something cool in the future to update the look at Hewitt Elementary School. Something like that to freshen it up in the future.
Hopefully, we'll have favorable variances at the end of our bond project to make some choices at the end.
That's good.
That's a wish list.
Any other questions, comment, discussion on the summer projects update?
Thank you.
And another reason that the number at Hewitt Elementary for summer projects was a little bit higher because we're having to redo some rooms to make room for fifth grade, because they're gonna have fifth grade there next year. And so that was another reason that Hewitt Elementary number was up there a little bit. Good evening. Also, I was gonna introduce Mr. Perry Cloud. We're glad to have him, but we're also glad to have his lovely wife Laura with him. And so far, they've been great to work with, and I don't anticipate it being any different. So the CTE and Ag Shop edition, if you've been by there, you possibly have seen some walls that have been put up on the Ag Shop, because we're planning on being in the Ag Shop part of it when school starts this year in August. They've started pouring slab, so that's exciting on the CTE edition. At River Valley, construction, they're probably 2 weeks ahead of schedule out there so far. You should see some metal in the air at River Valley probably in May. You should see some at the CTE fairly soon. And we lucked out and got all that metal was bought and ordered and all that before we got into the price issue that we have now. If we were trying to buy all that stuff now, there would be a long lead time and a much higher price. Is that accurate, Perry? On the Technology Center, we've started our weekly OAC meetings on the Technology Center. We had that this morning. That they're supposed to have 50% drawings sometime next week, next week, Monday. And we hope to bring you a GMP in June for the Technology Center. And the plans are to try to have them move in during the Christmas holidays. If not during the Christmas holidays, then during spring break, because it needs to be a time when, because they're gonna have to shut down the whole district, all the servers and all that, and move them. So we're gonna pick one of those times. We're shooting for Christmas, but if something happens and we don't get done, then we're pretty sure we can have it done by spring break. Construction continues on the building site where the new elementary is going. We got word this afternoon they have finished drilling all of the piers, and none of the piers had to be cased because of groundwater. So that was good news. So we're not going to have to spend that money on casing for those piers, and we were worried about that when we had the groundwater issues poke their ugly head, but we were able to drill the piers without casing them. So, and all of those are completed as of today. As was mentioned earlier, on the consent agenda for tonight is Phase 1, Package 2 of the GMP with Cloud Construction for Woodgate. And Ford and I went to Cloud Construction site a couple of weeks ago to open bids for that project. We had good coverage. We're anticipating even better participation when we bid out Phase 2, just because of the timing. A lot of this fell in with summer work, And I'm sure as Rick knows, most companies had already had their summer work schedule set. So, but we had good coverage. Everything was covered, and Cloud was happy with the number. Stephen was happy with the number because it was within the budget that Stephen had set for that part. I'll go ahead and tell you in advance, when we bid Phase 2, it's probably not going to be within the budget because the outside work that we talked about tonight wasn't originally planned when we talked about converting this to an elementary. But I think it is a necessity. There is one alternative proposal in the package, and that's to add a wainscot coating on the walls. There is tile on the wall right now in those hallways that we'll be working on this summer, but we're wanting to match it to what's going to be on the other side of the school. Because when we redo the other side of the school in Phase 2, we're going to have to replace that tile because we're changing the walls so much. And so if we pick that alternate tonight, then we'll go ahead and put the tile in the side we're working on this summer so that it will match the other side of the building when we do it. You ask about schedule. Right now, we're shooting for Labor Day weekend to be finished with Phase 1, and then perhaps move the kids during that weekend into the new part. Well, they'll start school in where Phase 2 is going to be, and then so we can finish Phase 1. And as soon as we finish Phase 1, we'll pick a good time to move them from one side to the other. Also, on summer projects, there's a couple more projects that have popped up. One is the terrazzo at Woodway. We're going to have that refinished where we had the water damage because it stained it, and we can't get it out. Our custodians couldn't get it out. So the insurance adjuster's coming Thursday. We're going to look at that, and I think that's going to be paid for by insurance. And then the 7th grade gym at the middle school, the water damage that we had during the freeze just in the last couple of weeks has buckled that gym floor. And so we're going to have to replace that gym floor, which we anticipate will also be on the insurance claim. No, we only had to meet one deductible for the whole water damage incident.
Wow.
So,
Great.
so the claim it's still open. This will be Thursday will be the second time that this insurance adjuster's been here. Summer work also, we are replacing the HVAC at Woodway Elementary and about half of them at the high school. And that project has started in the background. I'll just go ahead and say it. Capstone's been great to work with. You really have an impressive team, Rick. Any questions or anything you think I've left out, Dr. K?
Brad doesn't believe you.
I was going to say it's in his script, but you wrote it in.
I think it bears repeating what an amazing job you and your staff did in the midst of Snowmageddon to minimize the damage that we had. It could have been so much worse. So just wanted to say thanks again.
Well, thank you. We learned some things. Next time, we will have all the sprinkler systems drained a little quicker.
Well, you did great.
But we have a great staff, and they really worked hard and did a great job.
Good deal. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So much for the easy ones. Naming of new schools.
Oh, good grief.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, well,
Anybody
so like
here to
not,
speak?
you know,
I
one
didn't say
side.
this wasn't a good one. It's a good one, but it's just not as easy as the other ones.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Russick, and I'll just, again, just a short presentation on these, just to get the ball going, rolling here and discussions about naming of our schools. It's kind of hard to believe if we look at what's proposed to you in the board materials, looking at our new elementary school off Ritchie Road. based on, of course, our renovations to Woodgate and it no longer being an intermediate school, I'm recommending that we close the intermediate school chapter and have, since it's a new elementary school, and look at possible renaming of that as an elementary. And then some consideration about our 2 middle schools. Both of them would be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade centers. We can certainly keep the current names with those, but have some thoughts and ideas about those 2 campuses as well. So if we did that, remember we have currently 10 schools and move into just 11 campuses, but this is pretty significant percentage-wise
Yeah.
of schools with different names. And so in your explanatory notes, just as a reminder, there is not a set policy in your board policy manual or even in administrative guidelines. It's just been through the years in terms of how different things have been named in the district. And so our precedent in the past has been to look at location, geography, possibility of roads and or topography and features, creeks, rivers, as y'all know, things like that, to name schools. And so what we've done, thanks to, where'd Tracy go? Oh, there she is on this side. Thanks to Mrs. Marlin, kind of doing some research and looking back and thinking through some brainstorming. If you look at, for me, it's page 51 of your packet. This is the meat of tonight's discussion. Is kind of look at the elementary number 7 off Ritchie Road, the new elementary number 8, which is the current Woodgate Intermediate School, River Valley as a middle school, and our current middle school, is to look at some different thoughts and ideas about it. Certainly not deciding tonight, but first wanted to get a feel from the board of wishes about. I feel like that, of course, we have to name a new elementary, and I think there's will for the Woodgate campus, but we sure want us to continue to explore the current middle school and the River Valley Middle School for names. Some of the things that are happening in the fall of 22 is the 75th anniversary of the incorporation beginnings of Midway ISD, so fairly a significant number of years that the district has been in existence, and that's why you see words like heritage and legacy, things like that. You might have seen those in other parts, other school districts along the way, but that is a significant 2022. We began in 1947 in Midway ISD with the South Bosque District, I believe, and Hewitt's district, coming together and formed Midway ISD. So that's something to think about. So what I thought we could do is just real quickly kind of look down, starting on my far left there with elementary number 7 on Ritchie Road, is looking at maybe if we've talked about that type of theme. That's a great way to kick off that new elementary school, is legacy or heritage. Just remember with the geography of it, it is at the top of current Hewitt Park. It's kind of wrap your brain around that, but Hewitt Park there next to Castleman Creek Elementary. If you continue to go up, that is, our land does become adjacent to it at some point. So we're really at the top of that hill, if you will, even though we're all the way on the other side and on Ritchie Road. And so certainly use of the word park, like why you see Heritage Park or Legacy Park. Other things, though, geography is the roads near there are Ritchie Road, and instead of a road elementary, maybe Ritchie Ranch. Of course, I don't know. I'd have to do more research where Ritchie, the name came from, if it's a family name or history of
His
Hewitt.
family name, Warren's a family.
And Warren, I definitely know Warren's a family of the Hewitt area. Ritchie Bend. So that's the roads. Now, historical or landforms, as I mentioned, topography. What we're looking at is it's meadow, it's a farmland, thinking of that connotation there. But as I mentioned a while ago, it is at the top of the hill, so hilltop or Park Hill or Hill Park could be just the landmark of that area for that new school. So you'll notice to the far right, just words. Brainstorm Tracy did of possibilities to put together a couple of words, different things together. So I just kind of want you to think about it, not decide tonight, but I'm just maybe thinking about where we're going to, if we continue to follow our current process of naming of schools. Now, Woodgate, again, same thing about anniversary, but we talked about crossing because, again, that is more of an architectural. I think probably Mr. Cloud and Mr. Hafer could spend a long time talking about all these crossbars that are in the structure. It's kind of caused a few little, not glitches, but X braces and making us scratch our heads and how to get around it in order to do some of the flexibility we want to do, but we're working through it. But the other is Chapel. It is off Chapel Road there. One of the things, it's next to another Waco City Park. May not, it's a splash park, but it's Chapel Park. That is combining the fact that it is next to a park plus being off of Chapel. Trying to, Chapel Elementary as well, but then other things that you see there about geography or geolocation is, it really is kind of in the center of the district. It's in terms of Hewitt and the other parts of Woodway, it's very centrally located, Woodgate currently is. And so that's why you have things like Center Point or Heartland. Western Ridge and Chapel Ridge are current large subdivisions that are in the area. Western Ridge is right across the street. Chapel Ridge is newer, but further down the street there. Okay? Historical, again, maybe Chisholm Crossing, trying to get the cross of the braces in. Bosque Crossing Elementary, things like that too. So you can see those. All right, so before going on to middle level, our middle schools, any thoughts about the direction we're headed with the naming of the two elementaries?
Oh, you mean you want our opinion?
Our
thoughts today, or what you said?
You're ultimately, as a board, will vote to decide. I mean, certainly I have some favorites, but again, we just wanted to get the discussion started.
Right.
And so it's certainly not over. You certainly can tell me or email or send Tracy, we can look at some more. Well, I should have said this. What we'd like to do in the next meeting in May is maybe something a little more interactive, using some technology ways, an interactive way amongst the board to kind of, I guess, whittle down the list a little bit, see some of your preferences. Sometimes you can do that on your own through some of the different apps that we have and kind of see which ones rise to the top. So,
I was just going to say, just because they are old family names, I would not consider Warren or Ritchie, just to take those off.
okay.
The ones that are really neighborhood specific, like Twin Rivers or Meadowland or Western Ridge, are a little of concern to me because they're gonna be pulling in kids from multiple neighborhoods, and I'd like to see something more inclusive
Right.
and neighborhood specific. I can see going that way, but I just have some issues with that.
I agree with you. That was just difficult.
You gotta
to-
start
No,
somewhere.
I know, I know.
No, I
I'm
agree
seeing
with
it,
you,
yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
difficult, you're right, because some of them very rarely are gonna be just one neighborhood.
Right.
And I don't know how we get there, but just something to think about. This is going to shake up everything, and I wonder how the community would feel about taking away the historical name of campuses we've already had. Would that be confusing? Would that be upsetting? Should we just leave it River Valley Middle School for continuity? Leave it Woodgate to keep some connection to the Midway of the past? Just something to think
Yeah,
about.
I've kind of heard the opposite, though.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
My walk is more of changing that name. There'd been some things, as you all know, when the two intermediates were split, some negative connotations about Woodgate
Yeah.
and River Valley, play on words some students or families used.
So they're ready to change, to get.
So it's more of, let's
A fresh
close,
start, yeah.
possibly fresh start,
Fresh
and
start.
because they're serving different grade levels of kids. My personal opinion, again, was about Woodgate, its 5th and 6th, was carrying that through so that we say we close both intermediates.
Gotcha.
River
Right.
Valley, and do capture, what do you call that, capsule possibly, some type of history of knowing our 5th and 6th grade programs are over, and now we're fresh and start. And I failed to say this too, and apologize to Tracy, but part of this process, why I want you all to start thinking about this, is it is rebranding, and we would highly recommend that we get these names sooner rather than later.
Gotcha.
So that we can begin that process instead of calling it elementary number 7 or 8 or so we can begin, because you're also going to be examining zones soon,
Right.
rezoning, and beginning our communication plan for that, and beginning the building of culture, building of new school communities.
Perfect.
With a name this farther in advance, and we can really start branding our campuses. So I should have said that at the very beginning.
Oh,
too,
you're
of why-
absolutely right.
Of why we're headed this direction now.
So,
Okay,
so
yes,
having
sir.
been a parent trying to find some remote junior high somewhere to go to a basketball game, I really appreciate names that do have some geolocation built into it, you know, little something to help you. I mean, I think the Chapel Road is an easy one. I understand the challenges of using a name, you know, maybe we could do a little more research there and just understand the names a little better.
Yeah.
But, it is very helpful when the, yeah, I think
What'd you
Chapel
say,
Road
watch
Elementary
out?
sounds
Chapel
great.
Road or Chapel
Oh, Chapel
Park.
Road, yeah, you could do Park Hill, you know, you're looking for a hill,
Yeah,
Park Hill.
Water Tower
Yeah, Water
Elementary.
Tower.
Water tower.
But I also don't want it to be called,
Carolina, yeah.
but like using Center Point or Eastern or Western, that doesn't seem very warm and warm and fuzzy, you know?
Sure.
I mean, you want it to, it just sounds kind of big city.
Can we just email you some thoughts?
Absolutely. The middle school then, thoughts, as you can see, a little hard, not a little hard, kind of hard,
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
kind of hard.
Chisholm Trail's pretty good.
The River Valley area certainly has more natural, in terms of geolocations or landforms in terms of
Yeah.
looking at that. As you can see, Bosque Crossing maybe, or River Bend Middle, or Oak, or, I know, to
Oak
Pam's
something.
point about,
Yeah.
about.
There's
uh,
also a
Twin Rivers.
bridge
Yeah.
there, you could use a
Things,
bridge.
things like that. Now, the other one, our current one is Midway Middle. That's why you see Heartland. But one of the things too, I'll say this, if we go with the two elementaries, we do, and my suggestion to think about is thinking we could look and use Heritage and Legacy for your middle schools. Say, use other names for the two elementaries. And then you just kind of keep that tradition.
Keep that balance. too.
Balance names, and you have them Heritage Middle and Legacy Middle, things like that. We really do hope to keep, not hope, we will keep Panthers
I
at
like
both.
the celebratory
You just
commemorative aspect of it.
balance, if you
They're
have a
both
football
gonna be
game, one's
Panthers?
wearing red, one's wearing blue, and just do the opposites. Those kinds of things. So
Panther,
we can
Panthers.
maintain colors where we're not now going to, you'd ask, let's pick school colors for this new. Now, if you do 3, 4 middle schools, yeah, you'll have to, but for now, as Mr. Tullis mentioned, I would rather that be someone else. not- Someone else's issue after I retire, move on, about the 3rd, 4th, 5th middle school. And just, that way too, ordering is a lot more economical and colors, and we keep our colors.
Andy, you look like you were poised to say
Yeah,
something.
sorry.
So-
No,
Sorry.
I had a parent listening who texted,
Yeah.
why don't we ever use names of, big names in Midway's history? And my reply was just, we don't historically, is there any more to it on why we don't, or is it just something we haven't done?
My research at all, as you know, is just because of the names we have, just haven't been done
Yeah.
for buildings. Now, there have been certainly names and contributions to the district that have, for example, longtime soccer coach, we have at the soccer stadium, Panthers soccer stadium, what do we call it?
We have the Tim O'Leary Plaza at the
Plaza.
soccer stadium, sorry, we have the Tim O'Leary Plaza at the soccer stadium, we have Kent Bechtel Plaza at the football stadium. So, we've got these nice plaques that we've named areas after, but not a whole building.
And Rice
I've
Field.
been to some
Rice
districts
Field.
where they are named after
And-
people.
and we have
it's
Rice
really
Field.
confusing Trying to find John Smith Elementary and, like how many people are, so.
I'd like to not go through a study that Baylor just had to do about their ancestors.
100%, yeah. That's the reason too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, and then it gets so political when you use people's names.
Yeah, that's just, it's one more area where I think gets divisive. I vote we don't do a thought exchange on naming the
Yeah,
schools,
no.
except amongst us.
But,
Disagree.
okay.
Good, good
It's
question.
a very good
Andy.
start, thank
No, it
you.
is a good question. Like Pam, like Tom, Tracy, I've just always thought, it's just a rough path to ever go down, because once you ever name one building after somebody, then the pressure's on for every other building. You gotta find the name, and somebody gets their feelings hurt, you make, what seems to be a good decision at the time, and later on, you find out maybe,
We don't need to go there.
yeah, we don't need to go there. In my opinion, that's my view.
And other things we've done, we've placed plaques in buildings. There's a nice mural and plaque for like Sharon Zachary, she's the first principal of Castleman Creek.
Maudie Monroe's mural
Monty
in her
Monroe has
building.
one at Spring Valley, longtime principal
Mr.
of Spring
Beeson's
Valley.
garden at South
Yeah.
Boston.
Mr. B's garden.
Yeah, you also think this kids probably can relate more to Castleman Creek, name than someone's name where they go to school. Woodway.
All
So
right, any
discussion
other-
will continue, but.
So I got a question. Perry, how does Colleen ISD name all their schools?
Closed session, I translate that into gross violation of the Open Meetings Act, but that's just me.
It's all
And I'm sure
numbers.
they don't do that.
Let me get some numbers.
I think there's a district that does Disney characters.
Oh, that could be controversial, though.
yeah,
Oh,
there
my
you go.
goodness.
All right, anything else on names? for
Well,
tonight?
you know, one thing, you're talking about heritage and legacy. If you had two names that kind of close in meaning, I think that could be confusing.
Yeah, I'm not, honestly not a big fan of the word legacy. I don't know why, but,
So just my thought.
you know.
Like I said, if River Valley has more geography, then maybe
Yeah.
that could be,
Then the other one goes,
Heritage could be the current one, something
Yeah.
like that.
What's our
Don't know.
timeline to try to fix something?
We will continue discussion in May, we'll keep going until we decide.
is there a sponsorship opportunity here? Do we sell naming rights?
Capstone Elementary.
Capstone.
No, I'm thinking M&M Mars or Allergan
No,
High School or, you
That's
know.
such a great
Somebody
job.
with really deep pockets.
They have to keep on giving. you know,
Yes.
not one
Amazon
time.
Elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you, thank you.
Anything else on this one for tonight? folks?
Thank you,
Too
George.
hard.
That's a lot of work, so
So
thank
if
you.
you have particular thoughts, ideas, views
Mm-hmm.
that you want to send them in to the superintendent, not to all the other board members,
Okay.
not to all the other board members, to the superintendent. He can consolidate them and bring them back in May, and we can continue the discussion then. Okay?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Very good. Summer school programs and schedule.
I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Russell Miller. He is in our curriculum and instruction department, and we're going to allow Dr. Miller, Dr. Boyd's coming too. I think Dr. Stacy Boyd, as you all know, in her role as Director of Elementary Education, to kind of talk to the board a little bit about our thoughts and plans for this summer. So Dr. Miller. I'll turn it
Yes,
over
sir.
to
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. We'll just discuss some of our opportunities that we have for summer learning. So we've got several programs that we're looking at. June coming up, we have an EL, or English Learners Summer offerings. This one is a state requirement for pre-K and kinder that we offer 120 hours of instruction. We've got elementary summer school, we've got intermediate intervention and credit recovery, a middle school credit recovery, and a high school credit recovery. And then Dr. Voigt is going to speak a little bit here in just a minute about the July summer school proposal for our Jumpstart intervention. All right. So I'll just touch briefly on each of these offerings. Let me first start with the dates then. So we're looking in June for all 5 June offerings. We're looking at June 2nd through June 22nd. A total of 15 days. We'll go Monday through Friday. That June 2nd isn't a Monday, but the next week will start on a Monday, and that's for our elementary, intermediate, and middle school. They will be Monday through Thursday, and I believe the high school will also be Monday through Thursday as well. And then our July dates for Jumpstart are still being determined. We are going to look at having our summer programs at Castleman Creek. You heard earlier that Hewitt does have quite a few projects scheduled. So we're looking at Castleman Creek. They were welcoming and let us be able to take over part of the school for both the EL summer program and the elementary summer program. And then intermediate and middle school, so grades 5 through 8, will occur at the middle school campus. And then the high school will take care of their summer school offerings at the Excel campus due to the construction happening there. We are going to be able to provide community lunches at Castleman Creek. And so those lunches will be available to summer school students and the community as well. We'll start offering lunches at about 12 o'clock. And then the middle school will also be able to provide lunches as well, community lunches, and they will provide lunches for our 5th through 8th and then community members starting about 11:30 to 12:30. And our transportation, we're looking at transportation across the district. Our most likely scenario is that we'll be able to provide transportation from a student's elementary campus or home elementary campus if they're in the older grades, but from each of the elementaries to the respective Castleman Creek or middle school campus as needed. So here we look at, just real quick, each of the offerings that we have. So again, the Language Learner Program, this one is state mandated that we offer 120 hours of language and literacy development for our pre-K and current pre-K, current kinder English language learners. And so we're going to hold this session from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., and that will give us 120 hours over 15 days. And we're looking at approximately 30 students per grade. And again, our purpose for this one is literacy and language development. We also are able to provide some more robust language development for our first grade students. And so we are going to also include them, and I've got the total hours incorrect on that one, but we're going to offer them the same 120 hours that we're offering our pre-K and kinder, so that again, we can support that language and literacy for those students. I should say 120 hours. And that's probably going to be about 10 to 15 students.
Okay, and then these kids just go one at the same.
And then we'll also offer our typical second through fourth grade English language tutoring to our students. This one will be shortened, so about 8 to 12. Again, we're looking at language and literacy, closing the gaps that may occur for our language learners, and probably about 10 to 15 students per grade on that one as well. Moving on, so we are also have the opportunity to offer a elementary summer school. And so this one we're looking at really is kindergarten through fourth grade. It's summer school, it's summer program, so it's a credit recovery and intervention. And so we're looking at trying to offer opportunities for those students who may have gaps in their learning, and really try to close some of those gaps in those 15 days. Maybe some students that have need some intervention when it comes to attendance and also grades as well. And so we'll run this concurrently with the EL program on Castleman Creek's campus. And this one, though, will be 60 hours, so we're looking at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. for those students. They'll be offered breakfast and lunch. And right now, our numbers are showing about 25 to 30 per grade level. And then our 5th and 6th grade intermediate intervention is going to look similar to the elementary, in that we kind of have the same goals. We want to close those gaps in learning that may have occurred. We also want to look at credit recovery when it comes to grades and or attendance. And our hours on this one, so this will be at the middle school campus, and this will be run by sessions. And so we're really looking at math session and reading language arts sessions. So students will attend the session or both sessions according to their needs. And so one session should run from about 8:30 to 11:30, and then 12 or 12:30 to 3:30. And so we're looking at about 60 hours for those students as well. I think it's going to be closer to about 46 actually. And approximately 25 to 30 students per grade for our intermediate campuses. And then our 7th and 8th grade credit recovery and attendance recovery. And so this one will look a little more like a credit recovery situation. We are still looking to close gaps and address those learning concerns that may have occurred throughout the year. But it will look like the intermediate, in that we'll have 2 sessions available, a math session, language and reading session that's also available, or both if the student needs. And again, about 25 to 30 students per grade in that session as well. All right. And then the high school, we have 9th through 12th grade credit recovery and attendance recovery. This looks similar to what we've done in past years. Also, we'll address grades and attendance as needed in that as well. There'll be 2 sessions. Again, a first session and a second session if needed. And this one, we're looking at about 100 students, but they may open up a second session to accommodate credit recovery as they address those needs for the high school. And so you're looking at 48 to 60 hours depending on what the student's needs. Okay, so that is it for the June session. I'll let Dr. Voigt speak about our Jump Start proposal. Dr. Voigt, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm excited to be here this evening in my new role as the Director of Elementary Education. I was at South Bosque today assisting with STAR testing, and Mrs. Marlinson referred to me as that lady who left us. So, yes. So I've been called worse, so I guess that is okay. So When you think about COVID-19, we focus on things that we're not able to do, but we also try to reframe it as things that we can do, and so we like to call those COVID bonuses. So we're really excited to present a proposal to you called Jumpstart. It would be for students who are currently enrolled in our Midway schools in pre-K through 4th grade, and it would be basically a jump start to get them ready for the next school year. The purpose of it is just like it sounds, it's a kickstart both academically and social and emotionally in light of the pandemic recovery. And we would focus on offering accelerated learning experiences that are motivating for our students. It's based on their individual needs. We want to look at hands-on experiences, project-based learning, and then of course promoting that positive relationship among students, parents, and staff. When we look at student selection, it would be campus recommendations. We wouldn't be able to open it just district-wide, but we would ask for administrator and teacher recommendations on those students who have not only the typical summer slide, but students that we know who have already come back to us this year with COVID slide, and that COVID deficit is still there. And we would like to keep smaller class sizes. Our protocols would be in place is that we want to hire the best of the best. We know that Midway ISD has excellent teachers, but we want to take administrator, coordinator, director recommendations to hire those teachers who we know are the best of the best from all of our elementary campuses. As I mentioned previously, we want to have high-quality instruction, innovative curriculum and instruction practices, partnering with our innovation and learning specialists to find technology tools, so it is, again, highly engaging and accelerates that learning. And much like the June Summer School, we would provide transportation from their home campus. Logistics on a campus level would be a grab-and-go type breakfast that they would grab when they come in the door and eat in the classrooms, and then a grab-and-go lunch to take with them. We would have to work with our nutrition department on whether the schools where this is hosted have the ability to host that in terms of community meals. We would have to make sure the buildings are cleaned daily. Right now we allocate funding to make sure they're clean during June, but we want to make sure they are still clean during these weeks in July. And of course, we still want to make sure that we're providing those COVID-19 safety standards. Whatever that looks like during the month of July, if masks are required, of course, sanitizing and so forth. Our recommendation is to have it in 2 locations across the district. Right now, we've preliminarily looked at South Bosque Elementary School and Spring Valley Elementary School. Castleman Creek is being used in June, and so we want to make sure they have the month of July to do their maintenance and their cleaning that they need in preparation for August. And then, of course, as you heard from Mr. Freeman, we have some maintenance work being done at Hewitt in preparation for 5th grade. So we feel like Spring Valley is an ideal location for the Hewitt side of the district, and then we know that there's HVAC work being done at Woodway, and we feel like Spiegelville is just a little bit too far for parents who want to drop their children off personally, so we felt like South Bosque was a good location there. We're looking at proposing a 10-day window from July 19th through July 30th. It would be Monday through Friday, and designing it in like, these are the top 10 things your child needs to get ready for the next grade level. And our hours would be 8 to 12 for a total of 40 hours during that 2-week period. The reason we chose the last 2 weeks of July is that gives our teachers who have summer trainings in June, or they may be involved in teaching during June, they still get a little bit of a break in July before coming back. And then our curriculum and instruction department's very involved in August with Welcome Week and district and campus professional development. So we felt like those 2 weeks in July would be ideal. And just in closing, renowned educational expert Linda Darling Hammond says every child is motivated to learn the next steps that are in front of them to learn. So we feel like by providing this Jump Start program, we will be putting those next steps in front of them in preparation for the summer, for the coming school year. Thank you.
Questions from the board?
Just a couple of questions on the transportation. It says we will provide transportation from the home campus to one of the schools needed. What if the child can't get to their home campus? How will?
We're looking into right now the feasibility of picking students up from their homes versus offering it just from a certain campus So
Right.
we're still working through those details, but that's one of the things that we hope to offer, but I don't want to make a promise that we can, until we look at all the full numbers that may or may not show up.
Because I was thinking, it sounds like we're expecting to have a lot more students than we normally do for summer school. And also, have we started talking to those students about summer school, especially the older ones? Are you laying the groundwork that they know they're going to need to go to summer school and getting them psyched up to come to in-person summer school as well, if they've been?
Schools are reaching out, our administration teams are reaching out right now, letting students know kind of where they stand. Some of the older ones, if they're, maybe they need to attend, maybe they don't, so they're being made aware of that, this past week and this week now, so, absolutely.
I think it's great. I love the Jumpstart idea, especially after our COVID experience. I think that's going to be much needed, as y'all know, and I applaud you for putting together such a robust summer school program.
How many students do you anticipate the Jump Start program would be able to handle?
We have received preliminary numbers from campuses. We asked them to meet with their grade level teams, and so we're looking at probably 30 per grade level, and so we could take those and make like 15 at South Bosque in kindergarten, 15 in kindergarten at Spring Valley. Because we do want it to be invitation only, based on teacher recommendation, and everyone on the elementary campus level has already started those conversations with parents for the June summer school, but sometimes there's those kids who fall in that gap. They don't really qualify for summer school in June, and then they may not have the resources or the capabilities to do anything in July. And so we feel like providing this opportunity as an invitation would really close those gaps.
What's it going to do to the budget?
Do we have some kind of financial impact at this
Since we're going to do more summer school than usual, where are we pulling the funds from?
We are hoping they're coming from the stimulus fund.
Okay, very good.
Call your legislators.
Get the state to turn them loose to us.
Okay, good. She just brought that up. That was a good point.
Well, I did leave an article, since it was brought up at your tables there, about the federal education funds, the ESSER funds. They are available. The last count was 44 of 50 states have accepted and had flowed the dollars to the schools, just the part that's dedicated to public education. Texas still has not. So we haven't seen these dollars. We hope to. And another reason why I wanted Dr. Miller and Dr. Voigt to talk to you all about summer school is so that in your advocacy and in your conversations, you could share that Midway ISD does have a plan.
Okay.
That we have plans to utilize these dollars, and this isn't a one-time summer only, but hopefully this will be more permanent in looking at the needs of our kids. We know COVID will not just be 1 year, it'll be several years of catch-up. It's implied, but we're talking about students that we've had in school, but we've talked about some students that we know may have been virtual coming in, needing to assess them and see where they are. So we're going to have several years of just being sure we're assessing students and knowing where they are at grade level and being able to provide this type of support and remediation, as well as acceleration, both of them. So again, the article here is there to show.
Yeah.
There are other things too, of course, regarding these dollars, and they would ESSER dollars, for maintenance areas too. It could certainly be used for upgrades to HVAC systems. I know we talked about, and we had part of it in the bond, but again, that is part of Fresh Air, and that's found with research to be very, very important. We would just analyze our current facilities and be able to possibly use federal dollars for that. We would look very carefully, of course, with this, any type of dollars like this, that they're not going to be reoccurring fee costs. So we certainly would look at a lot of one-time. Other than this, I mean, we normally budget some of our federal title dollars, but these new federal dollars would certainly enhance it. But again, have a time period for it. I feel confident these stimulus dollars would not have to all be spent in 1 year, that we'd have several years to implement them. And so these are just some of the things going through our minds about how to utilize some of these dollars that the government has carved out for public schools. We just haven't seen them yet in Texas.
All right, thank you all
Great
very
job.
much. Good job, yes. Consent agenda, we have minutes from our March meeting, our board operating procedures, again, a large number of early graduation requests, considering out-of-district transfers for next school year, new position requests for next school year, proposed new courses for next year, budget amendments that Wesley described, the exterior design for the to-be-named successor to Woodgate, that Steve went over with us, the waiver on the select assessment days, our contract with Masonic for the technology data center, and then our GMP for the cloud construction on package 2, phase 1. Any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Mr. Pagel, second by Mr. Alford. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Notice of board member continuing education trainings met, as the board packet says, it's a requirement now in the last regular board meeting before an election to make an announcement about these matters, and accordingly then I am to read in its entirety the following. The following board members have exceeded the required hours of training: Brad Alford, Tom Pagel, Andy Popejoy, Pete Russick, Rick Tullis, Susan Vick, Pam Watts. So every board member. Emphasis on the word exceeded, not just merely met, which is all to be commended. Yes. Obviously, no board member is deficit in the required training. Completion of the required annual training is an obligation and expectation of any board member under State Board of Education rule. So thank y'all all for doing that. Y'all know it was different this year, getting to enjoy the experience virtually as opposed to in person. Enjoy the experience, yes. Consideration of personnel, we have an addendum on a number of professional recommendations that's at your place, and I will entertain a motion to approve the professional recommendations as shown on the addendum.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Watts,
Second?
second by Ms. Vick. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Been busy, Mary Lou.
Yes, you have.
That's a lot, wow.
We're having another fruit basket shake-up this year.
Indeed. We then have an agenda item. We had 2 teachers who had tendered resignations which had been accepted, which have asked to rescind those resignations. Any discussion on that, or we just need a motion and a second if somebody's so inclined?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Vick. Second. Second by Mr. Alford. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And then we have the, this time of year, as y'all know, the administration's recommendations with regard to the contracts for our various folks. No proposed non-renewals or non-renewals. These are all recommendations to be given contracts. Okay. So you've seen the administration's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Yes. Second.
Motion by Dr. Popejoy, second by Mr. Tullis. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Anything else we need to do out here right now as far as action items, sir?
No, if you'd just like for me to do my communication, I'd be happy.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and move that up, and we'll do that, and then we'll go into closed session.
Okay.
So election matters?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind everybody about election matters, a couple of things. That early voting has begun. Early voting began Monday and runs this week and next week. Ms. Milligan, correct me when I'm wrong, please, but right. So our hours are 8 to 5 this week. I believe on Saturday, they extend them to 7 p.m. and then Monday and Tuesday of the following week to 7 p.m. Voting is on Saturday, May the 1st, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then after that, though, in some years, the way the calendar falls, we were able to canvass election results at our May regular meeting. This time, you'll notice that's it's the first, elections are on the first Saturday, and it's May 1. So by law, that's too many days passing from the date of the election to May 18th, which is our regular meeting. So we need to call a meeting, so it's twofold. On election matters, that does not require a quorum, have to have at least 2 members. But I would like to possibly call a meeting on Tuesday, May the 11th, to have a workshop after the results are canvassed, to have a workshop with Bob Templeton about our rezoning, and give him more time. He can come on May 18th, but will not be able to come for a workshop. He can come at our regular meeting, but we need about 45 minutes, I believe, to talk about the different scenarios that he's working on. Tracy worked with me and Marlon. We talked to him today, and he's making some more tweaks to it. But they should be ready to go and get your input and thoughts, and not for approval, but just a workshop setting, Tuesday, May the 11th. But we would also canvass the election results at that same time. So kind of combine A and B there. It's the same thing about the rezoning update. We are getting to that stage of having at this time 3 different scenarios for you to look at, and all have some pros and cons, as you can imagine. Rezoning is another one of those necessary evils of the process of growth in our school district, but well thought out and very logical plans to look at, and look forward to your input on those.
How long do you say? You think the rezoning part will last?
Probably an hour, with the canvassing and that, about an hour. We could be flexible on the time too. Doesn't have to be like at 7. We could look at 5:36, 6:30. I think we could be very flexible if there's a conflict, if someone may have that evening. But Cindy will send you an email, and we'll get that going for that date. Okay, that's all I got right now.
Very good then. So we will at, what is it, 8:33, go into closed session under Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.0821, and 551.074.
Go out to the cold. Go out to the cold.
What's that?
Oh, go out to the cold. Go home.
To the